Okay, so folks watching a recording, I do have a strap here. I'm only going to use it for one tiny thing, so don't stress yourself out if you don't have anything like a strap. Jezebel's still upset about my new Sunday schedule where I'm gone a lot more, but she's gonna be fine. She is. So I was this morning, I was just kind of perusing a horoscope app. Just because it gives us interesting mindfulness tidbits that they put into this thing since I follow it. And today what it said was that focusing on feeling comfortable is the fastest way to get miserable. I was like, that's poignant. It's also very much a tenet of Buddhism. Yeah? We have this truth. We know that life is full of suffering. We know that being uncomfortable and being in this like teetering in between sort of place, that is the bulk of our existence. And if I go into things expecting them to go perfectly smoothly, if I go in expecting greatness every time, I'm very likely to be disappointed. And that doesn't mean that I have to be like a naysayer or pessimistic about these things. You can find joy and contentment, we call it santosha, with understanding that I'm going to be somewhere in the middle of the pendulum swing at most points. I'm going to be teetering. And that's this practice, is trying to become okay with not being super comfortable. Learning to breathe in uncomfortable places, learning to balance in uncomfortable places, and for some reason we come here and we do this voluntarily, right? Like I come here in order to get uncomfortable because it's beneficial. So do some fun things today. I think it should be good times. I am going to work towards a little bit of things that are going to go onto your hands, and I'll say this again when we get there. But I will give modifications. You will have some options. You are not needing to like do any wild, crazy acrobatics, but we'll have some capabilities to play with these ideas as we go further forward. So we'll start with another one of those weird things. We'll do some face brushing. Take your index finger and thumb together and bring that to the center of your forehead, brushing outwards towards your temples a few times. And then going from the sides of your nose out to your temples, along your cheekbones, and your temples down to your chin, along your jawline, and the sides of your nose down to your chin, along your laugh lines. And massaging underneath and behind your ears, lifting up from the bony spot that's behind your ears. Feeling a little bit taller through the spine. And then resting your hands down in your lap. As you close your eyes or find something in front of you to look at and focus on, take a few deep breaths. Checking in with the body that you've brought to your mat today. And taking a nice big breath in through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. And opening your eyes, and we're going to start off laying on our backs. So if you have a strap, grab your strap. If you don't have a strap and you don't want to worry about it, you don't have to have the strap around your foot. Well, that's the first place we're going. Just pick a leg. Doesn't matter which one. You can either loop the strap around the sole of your foot or just go ahead and hold onto your leg somewhere. I want you to do whatever feels good. So if that sounds scary, that you are completely in control of this, that would be not really in complete control of anything in life. So tool around with it, but if you want to just leave the leg completely straight and try to extend it outwards for a while, go for that. But if you want to kind of play around, maybe bend the knee, maybe not worry about getting it straight, maybe you want to take advantage of me not saying don't worry about getting it into your face, and if you want to put it into your face, whatever you want to do. And stay here for about 3 more breaths. And relax that. Just switch to the other side. So if you've got, hands around the leg or strap around it, whatever you got to do. Maybe play with it a little bit differently on this side if you're like me and have one hamstring that has had, for some reason, a significantly different experience in life than the other hamstring. You might treat them slightly differently, give them different types of care. Take one more big full breath in. And full breath out. And then you're just going to go ahead and release that leg. If you had a strap, go ahead and set it to the side. You won't need it again. We'll take one leg in. Doesn't matter which one. Slide the other leg out and come into a gentle twist. So you'll draw that knee across the body. And then maybe you open this arm. And don't worry about getting super ratcheted up. You're just starting out. A little twist. One more exhale. And you come back and switch the legs out. Extend one out, pull one in, and then draw across the body. You might take the opposite arm and open it up if that feels good in your chest. If it doesn't, you can always take the arm lower, just to be a little softer on yourself. One more exhale. And then roll onto your back. Take your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little rock around to massage into your back. And start to rock up and down on your spine. And then maybe you try to balance up at the top. And then come all the way up and we'll roll into hands and knees. So I'm going to come up here. And then small change though, instead of just being down on your hands, come up onto your fingertips. And once you're up here on your fingertips, let everything fall down like you're just kind of like slumping right into your arm bones. So then you really feel the difference in the sensation as you start to pick your heart up, and it's like you're sucking energy up through the floor, right through your palms here. And then try to keep that lift in your shoulders as you place your hands back down, so I'm still lifting up and away. And then take your hands and turn them out like an inch, maybe. This is that you're sure you don't have your index fingers in. You got them forward, maybe a tiny, tiny bit out, just for now. And then move through some cat and cow. Inhaling as you look up, try to stay above your shoulder joints instead of down in them. And then exhale, round your spine. And then just keep moving through that. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Really letting that tailbone press up and back, and then curling it in sharply. One more time. And then returning to the center. So give yourself another little pickup off of your shoulders, and then take your left arm forward and try to reach from your armpit further out into that hand. And then you're going to take your right leg and you're going to extend it back behind you. Now you can leave your toes down on the ground, and you can go to toes down on the ground at some point if you like, but try to go leg up for just a little while, because I want you to feel like your inner thigh is going to roll upwards towards the sky. Maybe you feel even like your inner thigh is going to pull up into your pelvis, but still reach those toes back there. And then take a big breath in. And then exhale. Maybe it's knee to elbow, maybe you put the knee down and just use the arm or just use the leg. You have the option to do more or less limbs, and also knowing that you are probably going to feel like you are wobbling all over the place. Next time you reach these limbs out, if you're going to reach both of them or just your arm, you're going to reach out into that arm a little bit more, and then set the hand down and the knee down. Give a little bum wiggle to set yourself up for the other side, and start with the right arm going forward. I'm trying not to come down into the shoulder. I'm trying to stay lifted. And then I'm going to go from the armpit out into the arm. I did not exaggerate. That really is the change between arm out and armpit out. And then left toes are going to go back or up if you can. And you're going to roll the inner thigh towards the sky. And then you're going to pull those inner thigh muscles into your pelvis. Basically thinking of trying to make sure that that leg is plugged in, but the arm is extending out. And then we'll go knee to elbow or knee in with the hands down, or arm in with the knee down. Reaching out, inhale. Exhale, pull it in. Next time, reach out again. See if you can give a little bit extra out through that armpit. And then set the hand down, set the knee down. You're going to bring your hands in, flip one over. Good. And then flip to the other side. Just got one hand that's kind of tucked back like so. And then take the hands in and come down onto your forearms. You want your elbows right underneath your shoulders. You're going to push down into your elbows so that you're strong across your upper back and not falling down. And then you're going to bring the legs back, and we're going to go into a little forearm plank. We won't hold it for super long, but can you squeeze your inner thighs up into your pelvis while you do it? Good. One more breath. Exhale. Relax your knees down. I'm going to go ahead and walk your hands back in now. Now for me, it's fairly comfy just to sit back on my heels if you want to grab a block or a book or a dog and sit on that instead, or swing your legs out from under you and go ahead and make those shifts. You just sit however you need to be sitting. In fact, I'll come a little closer because I want you to see me not being lost in this reflection. This window is so bright. Okay, we can do weird things with our hands. Interlace your fingers. And then switch it. And switch it again. And again. Yeah, and just keep going. And as you keep switching, you start to go a little bit faster, and you might notice things like, oh, my shoulders are being weird, and my breath is being weird, and my eyebrows are being weird, and also this is very bizarre. The whole thing is weird. Yeah. And you might miss a couple times, like, whose hands are these? And then just shake it out. Okay. Do it again. But this time, you're going to make some figure eights. And there is a direction in this that feels like, okay, figure eights. Okay. And then we'll have a small lesson in humility to try to go the other way. It feels worse every time I do it. Like, just put it. Okay, that's enough of that. And then we're going to do one more thing. You're going to take your thumbs and you're going to make like a barrier, like you've built a gate, and then your fingers want to burst through that gate. They're going to boom. And you'll do that again. You put the gate across and then break the gate, and then keep laying and breaking the gate. I'm just going to keep bursting right on through. And you want to create that pressure where you're really trying to like get the thumb out of the way. Don't just like do this. Yeah. Because that's really what's going to start to get your forearms working, especially down here around your wrist. Yeah, so you can feel all that stuff. Yeah. And a couple more. Shake it out. Good. Okay. Go ahead and take your hands and just right by you, you're just going to put the wrist on, fingertips back. Good. And just nice and easy. Good. In fact, I'll meet you back on the mat. No funny business, no big pressure. One more exhale. And then come on out. So from here, we're going to go into downward dog. You're going to take your hands, bring them down about shoulder width apart to make sure that your index fingers point forward and not inwards, and then push down, curl your toes under, downward dog. You can make any of these down dogs a puppy dog at any point. Do not mind. It can be a little table action, whatever you need, or you've got one more breath in downward dog. Go ahead and exhale. And then gently lower your knees. You're going to keep your toes curled under and walk your hands back. So, you're probably feeling many things in your toes. If this is as much as you want to feel, you can stay here. If you want to make it a little spicy, you're going to take your hands and you're going to interlace your fingers, pressing your palms forward. And I want you to press from your armpits out into your hands. And then try to relax something on your next exhale. And then release your arms. You're going to come forward, untuck your toes, give them a little drum roll to get the blood pumping back in them. And then it's again, downward facing dog. Curl your toes under, press those hips up and back. And you might notice you have a little bit more space in the backs of the legs, or you might not be sure. You might just be glad that you're not in broken toe anymore. One more exhale. And then gently lowering your knees back down. You're going to take your right foot forward here and then take your arms up. Check that you're not short in your stance. If you want to scooch that front foot forward a little bit more, so you have a little bit more open space in the front of this hip. And then you're going to reach from those armpits up to those hands, feeling a little bit more stretch, a little bit more lift. And then feel your inner thighs lifting up into your pelvis. So even though your legs are not together, you can still feel a magnetizing of your inner thighs. It's almost like they want to get right together again. Take another big breath in. And then go ahead and take your hands down. You're going to scooch this foot forward a little bit. If you have blocks and want to use blocks, you can go that route, but we're going to make the front leg straight-ish. And by straight-ish, I mean if it only gets about that straight, totally fine. It does not need to get completely straight. Just want you to go for straight-ish. And then instead of feeling this lifting and sucking up, can you relax this right hip back a little bit? Because it has this tendency to kind of lift up. I want to settle it back. One more big breath in. Big breath out. And then you're going to take this right leg, you're going to bring it all the way to the back of your mat. You're going to take your left toes, you're going to turn them over a little bit. As you take your right arm up in the air, you're going to push down a little bit more in your left arm. Now you can hang out here, you can come to fingertips, or you can do a little bit of side plank action for just a moment. I want you to lift your inner thighs up and in, and then go ahead and bring that knee back down, the hand back down, and come back to table pose. Just that little bit. If you wanted to hold more, you can go back up there and I'll meet you later, or hold more side planks later, but that's just a little bit. And then we'll take the left foot forward, and then take the arms up. So yeah, I'm a little bit short here in my stance. I want to go a little bit wider. So my legs are a little bit more spread, but I can open up the front of my right thigh. And then pushing down into the front foot, lift the inner thighs, lift your armpits up to your hands. A little bit longer, a little bit stronger, a little bit more spacious and powerful. One more big breath in. And then take your hands down. And I like to scooch this foot a little bit further forward still so that I have room to draw my hips back and straight-ish the leg. And then this hip that has a tendency to lift up, I'm going to let it soften back. Two more breaths. And I'm going to take this left leg and then bring it all the way to the back of the mat. I'm going to turn the right toes back a little bit and then lift this arm. And I'm pushing down on this bottom arm in order to get lifted up through this hand. And you can stay here. You might go into a side plank. And whether or not your feet are stacked, you can still lift those inner thighs up and in and lift that bottom hip up. And then go ahead and put the hands, the knees down. And then we'll widen the knees and sit back into child's pose for a moment. What you might do is take your palms and face them up and wiggle your fingertips out a little bit. Go ahead and rest your head down. For some reason, if I do that, the mic cuts out. Like, nope, this lady's too grounded. We just can't work. And move your hands in whatever way feels good or not move them at all. And give a little shift of your hips side to side. One more exhale. And lift your head up. We're going to come back in a downward dog. Go ahead and press your hands down, curl your toes under, press your hips up in the air. Lift the inner thigh muscles up into your hips and try to release the outer heels down. And then from your armpits, press down a little bit more into your hands. Relax the back of your neck. One more exhale. And then a little bend in your knees. Walk your feet up towards your hands. Maybe your hands go back to your feet. And then soften into this fold. You can hold on to shins or blocks and not worry about putting your hands on the floor. This is not necessary. It does not make you good or bad at yoga to be able to put your hands on the floor. One more exhale. And start to bring yourself up to standing. When you get up to standing, bring your legs in to touch. So your inner legs, yeah. So your big toes are going to touch, and I want you to feel that inseam squeezing together, and then you might feel like the weight goes forward onto your toes. So you can stay here where the waist is forward a little bit, or maybe you try to lift all the way up. I'm going to leave hands at hips. Now, I have a tendency, and you may have it too, where I start to hit. I'm going to show against the white wall because I'm disappearing here. I have a tendency to do this. If you notice that, I want you to get a little bit more in from that inseam, so we're lifting the underbutt. And you may not have a big lift in your heels, that's okay, but can you squeeze the inseam, the inner thighs up and up, and then lower your heels and remember to breathe again. And then we're going to come into warrior one. So take your right foot forward and your left foot back. You want to try to get that back toes turned up a little bit more than maybe you usually do, because I want you to give a good calf stretch there after all of that work. And then take your arms up. Bend, if your right leg is forward, I want you to bend your left arm, and you'll hold that elbow, and then reach the elbow up as you push the left foot back. If you are on the other side, just, other limbs. One more exhale. And come back up. You're just going to try to take one step, bringing your left knee up into your chest. And we go hands at heart. Let's go. Ooh, and maybe fall over and then set it down. And then go into the other side, warrior one. Right foot back. Make sure you turn those toes up just a little bit more, perhaps, so we can get those calves released after that little balance work. And then take the arms up. If it's your right leg that's back, it's your right elbow that bends. So you'll take it and you'll lift it up a little bit more. One more exhale. Releasing that arm, taking your hands to your heart, and look forward. You're going to try to lift that leg up, just a little pause when you get there. Boom. And then set it down. And then from here, you're going to just stand with your feet as they are. Take your arms up and reach from your armpits up into your hands. Even though your legs aren't together, can you feel those inner thigh muscles lifting up into your pelvis and the weight moves forward onto your toes? You don't have to lift up onto your toes here, but if you wanted to, that's okay. I really want you to feel like you are reaching your hands up into the air, like you're standing up on the ceiling. And then reaching your feet down into the floor like you're standing on the floor. Because you are. Take another breath in. And then let those hands come down into your chest. You're going to take your left leg, go ahead and lift it up. So we're going to do a little bit of standing bounce. You're going to take it up high. You can even have your toes tapping, but we're going to take this up maybe knee at hip height. And then lift your inner thigh line so you get a little bit taller. And then try to keep lifting your inner thighs as you take your left leg back behind you. You don't have to go parallel to the floor, but you are going to send your heart forward and your foot back. Try to keep those inner thighs pulled into the center of you. That's going to keep your hips squared, because if you let it go, you're going to get that opening, right? Whoop! Maybe fall over. Lift those inner thighs. And then that's enough of that. Go ahead and set your foot towards the back of your mat. So I'm in a lunge. I've got my back heel up this time. I'm going to take my arms up. And then I'm going to relax into this lunge. I notice like kind of my hip falls out, my knee goes wonky. And then instead of letting myself exist in that place, I'm going to lift the inner thighs and drive that front foot down. Lift the inner thigh on the back leg a little bit more. And then from my armpits, reach up into my hands. Take a big breath in. And then exhale, relax your arms. We're going to open up into warrior two. Go ahead and straighten your front leg right away. We're going to shift the hips back and come into triangle pose. So I'm not worried about getting down super far. I may get down super far. What I want to find is this flatness in my spine. And my leg is straight here. One more exhale. Draw your belly in, lift yourself up, bend into the front knee. We'll take a little peaceful warrior, lifting the heart up to stretch out that right side, and then reach forward through the right side, elbow down onto your knee. I'm going to take this top arm and reach it up and over. I'm going to reach from that armpit and make sure that the armpit isn't back, that it's slightly forward. So your shoulder blade is slightly forward. And then soften the space in between your arm and your neck. One more exhale. And then lift yourself up. We're going to spin forward. You're going to take your left hand and you're going to bring it down to a block or to the floor. You're going to spin up onto your left toes. And you could stay here if that's going to be better for your balance. You might take your right arm up. I'm going to lift those inner thighs. And you'll feel this hip pulling in a little bit more. And then look forward. You're going to come and stand up just on your right leg. So your left toes can be down here. It's totally fine if they are. They might be lifted up really high. They might not be. And then you're going to lift your inner thighs a little bit more, pulling them in. It's okay if your leg drops when that happens. And then set both feet down. Forward fold. Go ahead and relax. You can always bend knees when you're folding like this. You can bend your knee in that standing split. You can do that on the other side. We'll repeat it. One more exhale. And then start to bring yourself up to standing. And then we're going to stand up on the left side. Take the right knee up. It could be up a little bit or a lot, but we're going to lift from the inner line. Try those wooden arms up just for a moment. Ooh, that gets spicier. And then bring your hands into your heart. And you're going to send your heart forward and your leg back. As you take your leg back, notice if the hip lifts. I want you to lift that inner thigh. On both legs, really, but definitely that back leg. Because it's magnetizing. Even though they're not together and they're not going to go together, they have this energy drawing up and in. And then set the foot back. High lunge. Finding that same energy in your high lunge. Inner thighs lifting up and in. Armpits pushing hands up. Big breath in. Exhale, release out into warrior two. And keep that front foot pressing down. Straighten the legs. I shift my hips back. That little shift of the hips, and maybe this hip slides over slightly. That's what lets me keep my spine straight. And if I need to be up here to have a straight spine and a straight leg, then I'm up here. You only go down as far as you feel like you have space for. If I go around expecting every pose I get into to be perfectly deep and also perfectly comfortable, I am sure to be miserable. One more exhale. Draw your belly in, protect your spine, lift yourself up. We're going to bend into that knee, come up, peaceful warrior, just a moment, and then take that long space forward into your side angle. And I mean that armpit comes forward a little bit, so then you have a little bit more room to reach. Soften the space in between your head and your arms. One more exhale. And then you're going to look down, you're going to take your right hand down, you're going to take your right heel up, pivot that back foot, and you can look over towards the left, or you can take your left arm up, but you're definitely lifting that inner right thigh, probably both inner thighs. One more exhale. And then you're going to look down, you're going to come to stand up on your left foot. Lift your inner thighs, push that left foot down into the floor. Try to relax your head. And set both feet down. Bend your knees a little bit, let your head relax. And this time reach your arms all the way up when you come to standing. Feel yourself reaching up into the sky and down into the floor. And then hands down at your heart. Okay. We can do a little bit of play here. I do mean it. There are many different ways that we can do this. And if you are feeling like you should not be on your wrist, or like you're a little bit like scared, weirded out, whatever it is, you do not have to do crazy acrobatics, okay? That's how we do this. Okay, off the fourth wall, great. Back to practice. So you want to have enough space in front of you. You're not going to necessarily get up into a handstand. I'm not either. And I have other options for you. Pick a leg. I try not to be really dogmatic about what side we're doing all the time, as long as we can kind of work through with some care about what's going on here. So I'm just going to come into a lunge. So this is option one. Option one is I come from the lunge and I'm nice and lifted, and I'm going to just take my hands down and lift that back leg up. Okay? And then maybe that's what I do a couple of times, and I like test the fear of like, boom, going into this. Okay? So that's option one. Option two, testing a little bit more fear and discomfort and willingness to fall over. You're not going to put your hands on the ground. I'm going to come from here and then try to like, ooh, balance there, and that it's very odd. I'm definitely falling out of it every time. So that's another thing. Or remember the inner thighs together thing. I don't want you to think about kicking your feet up in the air. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Whatever. If you get a perfect handstand, great. Awesome. I'm really stoked for you. But you're going to get there by lifting the inner thighs. So here's what that might look like. I might come from here, and I might go down, and then I might, ooh, inner thighs. Yeah? I know my legs aren't fully straight, but it's the inner thigh, it's the thighs together. Yeah. You can try it a couple times. Good. Yeah, and you just push the floor away, stand on it. Good. You get that bottom leg up and try one more time. Inner thighs, yeah? Good. And then come out. It doesn't have to be perfectly choreographed. Yeah. And we'll switch to the other side. Your heart's going, ugh. Okay. So you've got a couple, right? A couple of options. You can do standing splits, hands-free standing splits, or a lift up, trying to get that leg up, okay? I'm trying not to like get too much. Ooh, there we go. Yep, that bottom leg comes down. There. And if you are getting all the way up there, if you do have a handstand practice, think of getting your feet standing on the ceiling just like your hands are standing on the floor. Yeah? You probably get what I mean by that. I'm not going to go through it. I'm not going to get into it because I just get nervous when I'm not around. So, yeah. Have you played adequately? I see people are still like popping up and down. That's great. Yeah! Yeah, I love it. Oh, you guys are so cool. Okay. You did handstands. Isn't it fun? I think it's fun. It's being a useful, spry individual once more. We're going to work through a nice, slow sun salutation as we start to work back down towards the ground. But I want to use some of this power that you've cultivated in doing all of that handstand stuff, yeah? Let's take a nice big breath in, lift the arms up. And a nice long exhale coming down into a fold. Inhaling, come halfway up, pause here. Maybe even take your hands up to your shins. Lift your inner thighs up. Lift your heart out into the front of your rib cage. Then when you exhale, go ahead and slap it down. We're going to bring the hands down, step the feet back. You can lower your knees down first if you like. We're going to lower all the way down onto our bellies. And untuck your toes. Come up into a cobra, nice and low. Just pause there for a moment. Can you reach back through your big toes and feel your inner thighs lifting up into your pelvis? Maybe that brings you up a little bit more. And then soften down. And then you're either going to do another cobra pose, or if you feel like up dog would be a good place, you're going to scooch your legs forward and come up. Now, you can get your knees off the ground if you feel good about it, but I want you to lift your heart up, your belly up into your heart first. And then if you have your legs up, you're lifting the inner thighs up into your pelvis. And then we're going to go back to down dog. You can lower your knees to tuck those toes under. Lift your heart going down into your hands. Maybe your heels are lower, maybe they're not. Maybe your legs are straighter, maybe they're not. And then maybe your pelvis goes and floats up a little bit higher into the sky because you're pushing down so strongly through your limbs. Inhale, big loud sigh. And then lower your knees down. And we're going to come into pigeon. So I'm going to take your right knee forward and bring your right foot forward. So I'm not like knee in and my foot underneath me. I've got my knee turned out a little bit. And then I'm going to take the left leg and scooch it back. And I want to look back there and make sure that the toes point directly behind. Because if they're in, I could fold this way. If they're out, I could fall that way. I want to keep them directly back. If you want to go on your back, take ankle on knee, the recline variation, go for that. That is the symbol to jazz that I want to play. Yes. I always want to play, my dear. There's a time and a place. You only want to play when I have things to do. She's so funny. She's not a morning person at all, and I am. Like in the morning, she's like, we're not leaving this bed. In the afternoon, she's like, why are we just sitting here? Instead of feeling that lifting of your inner thighs, can you relax this thigh bone inside of the hip socket? Big breath in. Big sigh. Then you are going to sit all the way over onto this right hip. You're just going to turn yourself open towards these legs. Take your left hand down towards your left leg. Reach your right arm up and over. So my right leg is just bent in a reasonably comfortable place, nothing specific. One more exhale. And then coming up, I'm going to place my right hand over quite a bit, so I've got a good foot or so. And I'm going to roll up onto the shin, and then press my hips and my heart up, pushing the floor away on that bottom arm. And then let your hips come down. It's going to be weird. It's going to be kind of like I'm going to go back into pigeon. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck my back leg up and underneath, and now my knees are together, my feet are out wide. From the front, I look like this. Now I might sit all the way back. I might grab something to sit on. Or you can just hang out here and push your hips back. And in that case, I'm a little bit more on my bottom knee. My top knee tends to lift up, and you can just like press here or stay here. Or you might take your hips back, but try not to sit on that foot. If you need to go back up and take other variations, you can. You could even unwind the bottom leg, just deciding if that's too much for your knee. Now, as you're hanging out here, just hold, if you're here, hold on to your knees. If you need to hold on other places, hold on other places. You've got your arms out in front of you. Great. We spent a lot of energy in this practice lifting up through the center. In more of these folding and hip-centered poses that we're getting into now, that is actually a lot of tension that doesn't serve us. It pulls us out of the work. So instead of having this energy, can you allow this energy? And I don't mean flop down. I mean all of the in my hips right now. Can I encourage them to, yeah. So less pressure, more exhale. And being with the discomfort, not pain. Find modifications that can move us out of pain, but can I be okay in a slightly uncomfortable space? Can I breathe in that space? Can I find value in that space? Can I find the points where pressure is more valuable and the points where relaxing into things is more valuable? One more exhale. I'm going to unwind the legs completely. I'm going to come back up onto your hands and knees here. I'm going to curl your toes under. Stand up on your knees for a moment, and then the babiest camel pose ever. So I'm just going to leave my hands at my hips here. I'm going to lift my inner thighs up and forward, and just lift my heart up. The babiest camel, just to engage these underbutts, and then relax. And you're going to go ahead and put your hands down, and we're going to bring the left leg forward now. So the left knee goes up towards the left hand, and I don't leave the foot underneath me. I need to turn it forward. Not shin parallel to the front of the mat, but leg turn outwards. And if this side feels less good than the other side, you can always go onto your back. Get my leg out that way. And then my back foot definitely pointing directly back. I need to adjust that shade situation if that continues. Apparently sunset is a very interesting time to have lighting in this room. So yeah, you can be hanging out down on your elbows, pop yourself up. Give yourself about one more breath. And you're going to come up and you're going to sit over onto your left hip. We're going to turn open this way. And this leg is wherever it is. Take your right arm down and reach that left arm up and over. That softening between the arm bone and the neck bones. That reaching from the outer armpit, and the outer armpit moves forward slightly. And then lifting up, and take this hand about a foot away from my hip. Press forward in the hips, lift up. It's not quite as high. Get your legs out pretty wide here. And then go ahead and take your hip back down. I'm going to turn back over towards this leg. I'm going to come up and I'm going to tuck the back knee up and behind it. And then maybe you can stay here. You can sit back. You can unwind the legs. You can do whatever makes the most sense. And it might be different than what it was on the other side. Just make sure you're not sitting on that back foot. And then again begins the work. All of a sudden they were arranged slightly differently and things got weird again. Use the breath to soften, to de-escalate, to find Not only the exhale of the breath, but the exhale of the tension that we are holding in places that may not be most necessary. I'll try this. Yes. Oh, I swear I have the worst laptop battery ever if that cord is slightly off. One more exhale. And unwind your legs. This time, feet are down, hands are back. You can just leave, like let's go up though. I want to engage the underbelly. Okay, have your hands forward. You're going to push down into your feet. Lift up, just a brief visit into altar. Just when you squeeze those hips up and push your feet down. And then we'll go ahead and drop those hips down and then go ahead and shake out your poor wrists that have perhaps had a lot of energy and excitement today. And then I'll take your legs. Take one leg, take your left leg out in front, cross your right leg over. I'll mirror you. What am I doing? This. I'm going to hug onto my thigh, just on fingertips back here, supporting with the left arm. And move into this twist. Let your belly soften, giving that space for your back to expand. One more exhale. And release the twist. We're going to wrap up the other side. So take the other leg out, in, twisting over the leg. Softening the belly. One more exhale. And release your twist. I'm going to take one foot on the inside, one leg out. I'm going to open this knee up. It doesn't need to be anywhere specific. It could be a lot further out if you don't want to fold it in so much. And then we're going to come forward over this straight-ish leg. It could be bent. Yeah, you could bend the leg, or you could have it out straight. Deep breath in. Deep exhale. Again, deep breath in. Deep breath out. And start to lift yourself up. Just going to switch sides. Taking the other leg out and coming forward. Maybe this is the one that bends a little bit, especially if you have any shooting feelings. Bend this leg. Don't worry about how far you come forward.